Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a rare occasion lately, getting to do some more reading. It's storming outside. My sales team is pretty much in because they can't drive and be safe out there. So we're going to do some reading. Good rocking tonight. We are on page 47. Thank you, by the way, subscribers, members, brand new members, and those that want to become a member. Just look in the description of the videos, and there'll be a link you can click on to become a subscriber. Let's get straight to reading. I'm curious what this book is going to say. We all know that Joe Esposito has a good and a bad reputation with Elvis fans. A lot of people call him Lion Joe. I think that he pretty much tried to protect Elvis's image, or the business of Elvis, by saying some of the things that he said after Elvis passed away. And I think that's where that name comes from. So I do want to give him a chance and do some reading here. Okay. All right. Just trying to see where we left off. Okay, so Joe, there's a girl over in Germany that pretended like she liked Joe, and she was an undercover newspaper reporter. That's where we left off in this book. So we're going to go back a couple paragraphs just to get more context as we're reading here. Joe, I got something to tell you, Elvis said. Well, all sorts of possibilities went through my head, but I knew it had to be something to do with Nicole. Maybe she was a lady of the night, or maybe she wasn't even a lady. The manager just told me that Nicole, she's a reporter for a big Paris newspaper, Elvis said with a pained expression. He didn't want to hurt my pride. Joe, she's just here to get a story. I'm sure you didn't know, but these things happen around me all the time. Well, I tried to hide my stung feelings as I apologized to Elvis. I'll take care of this right away. Elvis patted me on the back like a big brother, and we walked together to our table to finish dinner. It was hard not to say anything to Nicole, but I was cool. Elvis was great, even extra nice to her. After the show was over, Elvis signed a few autographs for American tourists, and everyone went backstage. Well, I told Nicole I needed to talk to her alone and walked her out to the lobby. We sat down on the couch. Nicole, said Joe. Not me, Joe Esposito. Are you a newspaper reporter? I asked in a normal tone of voice. I was determined that she did not see how angry and hurt I was. Why do you ask? She responded guardedly. Someone told me, I said. You said you were a secretary, so apparently you didn't want me to know. You knew that if you had told me, I wouldn't have asked you out. So goodbye. It was nice talking with you. I left her there in the lobby and went backstage where Elvis was talking with some girls and Lynn Renaud in her dressing room. He looked at me as I entered the room, and I gave him a high sign. Elvis winked back, and I felt better. A high sign? Like that? High five sign? I don't know. What's a high sign? You stick his hand way above his head or something like that? All right, so we carried on in Paris for 9 straight days. Every night, the Lido or the Crazy Horse, then meeting the dancers back at Le Bantu. Maureen always does this to me, by the way. Every night, a different beautiful woman. We all switched partners, but no one dared to hit on Elvis's girls. Well, there's some details there. They all switched partners. It's like a square dance, do-si-do. Around we go. Poor Lamar had a hard time getting, let's just say, the lucky in the replacement for the word. We've got to get him a... See, these are the things where we have to decide whether Elvis said these things or whether this stuff was made up. Elvis supposedly said, We got to get him a lady of the night, basically. After several scoreless days had passed, I called downstairs to get a concierge. Hey, I've got a friend who would like a female companion for the evening, I informed the concierge. Rather smoothly, I thought. A half hour later, there was a knock at the door. Well, I opened it to find a stunning 19-year-old French girl. That's where we're going to pause for just a second. Okay, just making sure there's nothing pressing there. So, a stunning 19-year-old French girl. She spoke very little English, but when she spotted Elvis, she rushed over and smothered him with kisses. Wait, don't do this, I protested and pointed to the direction of Lamar. You're for him. The girl wouldn't take her hands off of Elvis, and she flatly refused to go with Lamar. Of course, Elvis didn't want to have anything to do with her because it would have just killed Lamar. So I paid her off and hustled her out of the room, and I felt really bad for Lamar. After 9 wonderful days, we boarded the train for Germany to finish 2 months of service. At one point, Elvis and I were alone in the compartment, and Lamar and Cliff were in the dining car, and Jurgen was already asleep. I don't know how to thank you, Elvis, for taking me to Paris with you. That was the experience of a lifetime, and I could get used to that kind of living very easily. I was already wondering how I was going to return to the life that I'd loved so much in Chicago. From the perspective of Paris with Elvis, it seems dull and humdrum. Yeah, Elvis agreed, but even that gets old after a while, Joe. Elvis, I began tentatively, I have a personal question for you, but you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Elvis says, shoot. Well, you've been with so many girls. Have you ever gotten one pregnant? Now, this is an interesting place just to take a small little break. I don't know what the answer is going to be, but we do know, reading Are You Lonesome Tonight, that the Lucy DeBarban story has her getting pregnant in 1958 before Elvis left for the army. And Elvis not being aware. So, just want to put that there. The timing of this is interesting. The fact that it's in this book, this is 1950. Sorry, I mean, obviously this book's not 1959, but I think that's 1959 or 1960 when he asked Elvis that question. And this book was written in 1994. So, could that question been put in here because of the 1987 book by Lucy DeBarban and Derry Matera? I'm going to find out what this answer is right after this. He smiled. First of all, Joe, if I'd slept with every woman the movie magazines say I have, I would have been dead a long time ago. Before I went into the army, there were 3 different girls who claimed I got them pregnant. A couple of them even claimed they had abortions, but I didn't get them pregnant. Well, how do you know for sure? That book can be a little crude here. And Elvis said, whenever I'm making love, I make sure, basically, that he doesn't complete the act. I pull out in plenty of time. If I knew for sure that the girl was having my baby, I would never let them have an abortion. There you go. Now, that's something I definitely believe. Now, perhaps Elvis said all that stuff to Joe. I don't think I would marry her unless I was in love, but I'd make sure the baby got whatever it needed. So despite his sexual escapades, Elvis had a disarming naivety when it came to women and sex. Deep down, he believed that sex and fatherhood were for marriage. He wasn't ready for marriage, though, not by a long shot. I don't think he ever was. But he already knew who he would marry when the day came. So Joe, especially when he wrote this book, was still a Priscilla Presley lackey. Priscilla bobblehead lackey. So there was 3 claims that he knew about. One that he didn't. One for sure. The three claims, two of them said that they'd gotten an abortion, and one, does it say anything about the other one? A couple of them claimed. And Elvis said, but I didn't get them pregnant. Now, he wouldn't know. He really, well, I mean, I guess he would. If the claim here is that every single time he never did, that don't mean anything. We know that nowadays. He didn't know it back then. Like literally, you don't have to finish the deed in somebody to get them pregnant. I mean, you and I know this because of decades and decades of what we know, that it doesn't have to be fully completed in order for life to happen, obviously, right? I mean, I don't need to get into the details here. We're grown-ups here and adults, but this is not a sexual education channel. If you got any questions, I mean, you just go online and Google it. But that tells me that in this book, he told Joe Esposito he didn't use protection. I don't think that's been talked about much in the Elvis world, especially when it comes to potentially other children that are out there. Remember, we've talked about Dieter, the one that Desiree feels like would be the only other child that Desiree Presley thinks would be her a sibling. Was Dieter in Germany. Was mentioned in the Inquirer or some magazine about all the children of Elvis Presley or potential children. And when I spoke with Bridget Cruz, we talked about Dieter as well. And she would have a lot of information and knowledge being around Priscilla for the time that she was, and the conversations and having access to certain documents. So, isn't that interesting? I mean, I wasn't expecting to read that here, right? I mean, we spent so much time reading Are You Lonesome Tonight and talking to Derry Matera, and all of y'all doing research. There's a lot of research that y'all did about that. So, right there, just his conversation with Joe in this section tells me that there is definitely a likelihood that there were other children out there before 1960. But he wasn't protecting himself. Now, how many? I don't know. Everything's got to be perfect, right? All right, so let's go ahead and continue on here. Priscilla Bobblehead had entered Elvis's life several months before our leave in Paris. They were introduced by Elvis's Air Force friend, Curry Grant, in August of 1959. So there we have a time frame, August of 59. Curry visited Elvis from time to time and even joined us for a few days in Paris. He was based in Wiesbaden, where Priscilla's father, Captain Joseph Paul Bobblehead, was stationed. And he told Elvis about this gorgeous brunette that he'd love Elvis to meet. Sure, why not, Elvis said. So Curry brought Priscilla over one evening, and I'll never forget it. Now, we got to remember, this is written by a lackey. Somebody that, okay, I guess, maybe people claim he's a lackey, that he was in love with Priscilla as well. Like I said, Joe Esposito doesn't have a very good place in Elvis's life, reputation-wise. But I think part of that has to do with him being from Chicago, and then also going to work for Colonel Parker. He did work for Elvis technically too, kind of, but he was really working for Parker. I definitely do feel like that Joe Esposito had enough distance and separation. Distance and separation from Elvis to not have been involved in so many hardships with Elvis. Now, he didn't really have a true relationship day to day with Elvis, but maybe that allowed them to have a camaraderie, maybe a trust, perhaps. I mean, on a business side, that's kind of why Colonel Parker wanted Joe Esposito in the group, for the business sense, for the mafia stuff too. I mean, just the idea and concept of it, that's an Elvis thing, but the business sense is what Colonel Parker probably saw. So according to Joe Esposito, I'll never forget it. She entered the room wearing a little blue sailor outfit with a white collar that had been written about many times. Her long brown hair was curled in ringlets. Elvis jumped up to introduce himself. Where have you been all my life? He teased with a sweet smile. Now, Priscilla didn't look as young as she was, but also didn't look that old. I'm going to get rid of the ages here. Just YouTube doesn't like it. She was pretty smart, too, but naturally. She didn't say much that night. Pretty smart, too. We know that he's not talking about smart as in book smart, But I think that he sensed that she was smart in the manipulative sense. She knew what to say, what to do, how to act. That lines up with Child Bride. Cary Grant teaching her in order for exchange for, obviously it's not a good legal exchange would happen, but in exchange for that, according to his claims. She was very quiet, very nervous, and clearly felt out of place. Now, Elvis did his best to put Priscilla at ease. She sat next to him on the piano bench as he serenaded her. They talked alone in his room for a few hours, and then Curry took her home. From then on, Curry, Lamar, or I picked up Priscilla up in V's bed several nights a week. Elvis and Priscilla spent hours alone in his bedroom, kissing, caressing, and talking. But after she left, Elizabeth took place in Elvis's bed. Now, if y'all don't know who Elizabeth is, I had a nice conversation with Elizabeth that lasted about an hour and a half on the phone. Now, out of respect for her, I didn't put it on the channel. I don't think that she wants the publicity of it. She married Rex Mansfield, who worked with Elvis. But Elizabeth was Elvis's secretary and girlfriend for a great period of time that he was in Germany. So when Priscilla left, Elizabeth took her place in Elvis's bed. Now, Priscilla's father, who was actually her stepfather, was a true military man. He was understanding up to a point. Now, both Elvis and Priscilla had to work hard to convince Captain Bobblehead that they were just friends. Priscilla never spent the night, but she did arrive home late, often at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, they were just playing music, she assured her anxious parents, and besides, Elvis was a night person. They might date seriously down the road, but nothing was going on. Elvis could talk anyone, particularly female, into anything. Now, every Sunday afternoon, Priscilla sat by herself on the sidelines watching the football games. I still have that image clear in my head. And why does he have that image? I'll tell you why, because Joe was infatuated with Priscilla. He was in love with her. It's my opinion. I think it's some of y'all's opinions as well. I've never seen anyone before or since so absolutely fragile and beautiful, like a precious china doll. Elvis handled Priscilla with great tenderness and delicacy, but I remember one comment that veered from his usual reverence. She's a beautiful girl, he said. I wouldn't lay a hand on her. Then he added, can't read it. It's too crude. Don't know whether Elvis said it or not, but it definitely slapped something on my channel. How do I say it? I don't even know if I want to say it, and I don't think it's that important to y'all. But it's got an innuendo of it, of stuff that happened. Their affair continued for approximately 4 months, until Elvis was discharged from the army. He liked Priscilla a lot, he told me. He thought she was gorgeous, and he hoped that there could be a future to their relationship, but he couldn't be absolutely sure because she was so young. Now, a few weeks before he was scheduled to leave Germany, Elvis asked Elizabeth if she would work for him in Memphis. She declined the offer. Elizabeth had other plans. Now, none of us had ever suspected that all the time she'd been living in Elvis's house, sleeping in Elvis's bed, sometimes being more than just a friend. She's admitted that. She'd been having an affair with Rex Mansfield. Elizabeth and Rex were too concerned about upsetting Elvis to let anyone know about their feelings for each other. Soon after we were all released. They married in. Let me back up here real quick too. Elizabeth won't talk about any of that stuff. She won't deny it. She won't talk about it. So, can I say for absolute certainty? No. Now, people have said that. People have alluded to it. People have claimed it. People said it's stated as a fact. But we all know about Elvis. Elvis didn't like to sleep alone, and I can assert that for a fact, not just from the books and stuff, but my old music manager Merle Kilgore told me a story one time about going on the road with Elvis. Merle played guitar in the Louisiana Hayride. He had his first #1 hit, More and More, when he was 18 by Webb Pierce. And Elvis and Merle were friends. They were fast friends for a while. Both of their mothers were named Gladys. And he told me some stories about Elvis, and Elvis coming over to the house and having his mother Gladys, Merle's mother Gladys, make them food. And then going on the road and how they slept in the same bed. You know, I think there were king beds back then. So Elvis was 6'1", somewhere around there, 6 foot to 6'1". Merle was, I believe, 6'4" or 6'5", the long, tall Texan. And so that must have been interesting, you know, because Elvis probably said, "Hey, that's fine. Let's just get this one bed. No big deal. We'll just, sleep in the bed." All right, let's keep reading. I just wanted to just kind of straighten that part out, is that even though she never denied it, she wouldn't confirm details. But if nothing had happened, if they weren't truly boyfriend girlfriend in that sense, her heart was broken. So they were more than likely intimate very, very often. But she ended up having the affair with Rex Mansfield because she knew that Elvis wasn't going to be serious with her. Especially with Priscilla being around. I mean, to live in the house and then sleep in the same bed with Elvis after Elvis had been, you know what I'm saying? Even though Elvis gets a bit of a pass because he was so different, and so special when it came to music and all that other stuff, I think everybody can agree that if you were in the situation of her back then, that you would know that there's no future. And so, do I blame her having an affair with Rex Mansfield? No. She ran off with Rex. Elizabeth and Rex were too concerned about upsetting Elvis to let anyone know about their feelings for each other. Soon after they were all released, they married in the States, and we never saw them again. Now, Elizabeth sent Christmas cards every year to Elvis's grandmother, Minnie Mae, with whom she was very close, but the rest of us never heard a word. By the time our group of Army buddies began dwindling away, as each finished his service and was sent home, Elvis and I had been friends for about 6 months. One dreary evening, Elvis asked me to take a ride with him. It had rained earlier, and the cobblestone streets of Bad Nauheim were slick. In the gray chill, the town looked like a set from an old Humphrey Bogart flick. Elvis's mood matched the town's as he drove his white BMW 507 sports car through the streets, and he expressed deep fears. And he said to me, "I hope they remember me when I get back to the United States." Just then, we came to a stoplight, and people pulled up to the car next to us, and they were Germans. They looked over and waved happily to see Elvis, who, to their delight, waved back at them. "See," I joked, "if they don't remember you back home, well, you can always come back here. They love you." And then Elvis, according to Joe, said, "I'm really going to miss Priscilla. She's been a godsend to me for the past few months. I don't know what I'm going to tell Anita when I get home. I just know it's going to get out to the newspapers, and they'll have a field day." "Well, I'm sure everything will work out for the best," I tried to assure him. Words of wisdom from a 22-year-old, though, right? "Well, what about your dad?" I asked. "Is he going to marry that woman, Dee?" Vernon had met Dee Stanley just as she was extricating herself from a troubled marriage to an Army sergeant also stationed in Germany. Now, Dee was a shapely blonde and certainly pretty enough. From the back, she looked like an 18-year-old, but she was an empty-headed flirt who seemed too interested in Elvis. He told me he wants to get married right after I'm discharged from the Army," Elvis said. And he didn't seem very happy at the prospect. Well, what do you think of her? I prodded. I don't know her very well. Elvis said, I have my doubts. I think she's only marrying him because he's my daddy. But if she makes him happy, that's all I care about. Well, there's one thing she'll never have to worry about. What's that? I'll never call her Mom, Elvis said. Then he changed the subject. Joe, what are you going to do when you get back from the Army? Well, go back to Chicago and pick up where I left off. Elvis then looked at him and said, would you like to work for me? I was thrilled. Are you kidding, I yelped. Of course, I'd love to. What would I do for you? And then Elvis looked at him and flashed a grin and said, excuse me. What did he say? He said, you can be my right-hand man. The Chicago Mafia loses one, but the Memphis Mafia gains one. Hey, that sounds pretty good. The Memphis Mafia. Joe, you're not going to be part of the Memphis Mafia. Hell, you are the Memphis Mafia, and we'll have a lot of fun. So, according to Joe, Elvis coined the phrase the Memphis Mafia. No, it looks like I'm done, but we're not. We're getting close, though. We laughed, but the name wasn't a bad idea. It would be a great way to signal the transplanting of a big city Chicago guy to the Old South. Plus, Elvis enjoyed an entourage. It meant power and style from the outside, and even more important, it supplied the comfort of uninterrupted companionship. I told Elvis that night that within the real mafia, respect for the boss was an absolute requirement. Any breach of respect, no matter how slight, was treated harshly, and Elvis liked that. He had learned about respect from his parents, and he never failed to show it to people at every level, and he demanded it in return. He knew that he could count on me to base our friendship and our relationship on respect, mafia style. And he could count on my loyalty, another critical mafia element. Add to that my alleged killer instincts, and Elvis's not so secret desire to play Godfather was fulfilled. You can be my right-hand man. The Chicago Mafia loses one, and the Memphis Mafia gains one. Hey, sounds pretty good to me. The Memphis Mafia, Joe. You're now part of the Memphis Mafia, and hell, as far as I'm concerned, you are the Memphis Mafia. I had to read that again because it's fun. It's fun to think. Elvis could have said that very close or exactly. Of course, clearing my throat, I ran any Elvis inflections I had earlier. As Elvis savored the possibilities of Donhood, my mind raced. Hollywood, John Wayne, Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, Beverly Hills. People and places I had only dreamed about, and Elvis was going to make it all come true for me. I couldn't wait to get back to base and tell George. By the time we returned to Elvis's house, he was in a lighter mood, and I think it made him feel better to see how excited I was for working for him. About 8 fans were waiting for him by the gate, and we got out of the car, and Elvis stopped to sign autographs. I stood on his right, wearing an ear-splitting grin. Okay, yeah, there's some stuff in here that shocking sounding. If I would have read it exactly as it appeared, and I'm sure that y'all could have handled it, the majority of y'all, but YouTube wouldn't have liked it. They would have slapped a explicit rating on my video if I would have said what was in that book. Sorry. So anyways, I am happy to have been able to do another video for y'all. And if y'all are interested in the actual music, I know I put some in the comment video. Y'all know I'm cutting my record. I'm easy enough to find. My wife and I are easy enough to find. It's The Sins Country. You just go to iTunes, Apple Music, The Sins, S-I-N-S Country. Also Amazon Music. We're on Spotify. Don't publicize this stuff much more. We've lost a big portion of our fan base because we don't go tour anymore. They move on to bigger, better things, new musical acts. So many artists have come and gone since we were out there doing stuff. But it's nice to see that, the Charlie Kirk songs that I wrote and recorded and sung and my wife and I sung together have, I don't know, about 3.5 million plays on Facebook. It's nice to see that. So if you're interested, find it. If you want to become a member, I'd love to become full-time on YouTube. We'll see if that ever happens. It's going to take a lot of members, but maybe you can convince your other friends at the other groups that you belong to come be a member. I am going to start doing some member-only content. It's probably going to center around maybe doing some Elvis tribute music. I don't want to like take a section of the book that nobody else can read, but maybe I read a book. Maybe I read a certain book that members are asking for me to read. And eventually, those that are not members, obviously it'll get released to you as well. But I don't want to make stuff so exclusive that it excludes. See what I'm saying? But I do want to thank you for taking time to do a monthly membership, something. So message me. You guys have my email. It's rareelvisphotos@gmail.com. And thank you. I mean, some of y'all, like I said, Andrew, he sent me flash drives. I've had books sent to me from some of y'all, which is great. I've had some checks mailed to me, which is wonderful as well. I think I told them, the person that sent a check last time for $25, that I was going to take my my son and my wife to Starbucks with it. That's about all. It's funny, at Starbucks, everything's so expensive. What happened to the world? I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the only thing that hasn't really changed in price much for me in the last 25, 30 years is those packs of Wrigley Spearmint gum. Now, I know they were 10 cents at one point, but most of my life I remember them being 25 cents. Now they're only 50 cents. Now, that's double the price. So it's jumped up, but at least it's one of the only things I can think you can buy for under $1. All right, that's enough of my ranting and raving about it. TCB TLC, I don't know if you're going to be able to watch this video tonight. It's already 7 o'clock. So I may load it on the channel in the morning, as I think there's 3 other things today. But hey, we're in a streak here, 3 straight days. All right, thanks again. TCB, TLC, much love to every one of y'all. And go do something fun. Call a friend. Go for a walk if the weather's good. If it's rainy, sit by the door and smell the rain. And I don't know, experience nature. There's so much more to be done if you can. Open a window if you're homebound. Sit by a window with the screen open. Something. All right, till next time.